style. Marcus, why did you choose this topic and how did you name your speech?
This topic was a requirement of the level 2 pathways curriculum for presentation mastery.
And how did you name it? Like, why you name it your communication style?
That was the title given in the pathways curriculum.
So, I know you're a realtor and you have a lot of connections. So if you could meet anybody in this world, who would you meet?
If I could meet anybody in this world, who would I meet?
Yes.
I think I would like to meet LeBron James. Why?
Yes.
Because I like, he's a young guy. He's got great fame. He's got an exceptional amount of fame and fortune at this time. And I like how his maturity and how he's handling it. I'd like to see some of his mentors and get some insight on who is influencing him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. Thank you so much.
Is that good for everybody? I think it was George Bernard Shaw that said the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it is taking place. You can give the greatest performance of your life. You can receive a standing ovation. While everyone's clapping, some will be clapping because they're excited and inspired, and others because they're glad it's finally over. Toastmasters, the greatest communicators of our time in the world, the Stephen Jobs, the Winston Churchills, the Martin Luther Kings, all had one thing in common. They were in tune with their communication style. They embraced it, they studied it, they mastered it. And in doing so, they created movements, they led troops to victory, they changed the world. As leaders, as speakers, if you want to go from average to good, from good to great, you have to get in tune with your communication style. If you want to go from great to excellent, you've got to master it. Mastering your communication style means that you're fully aware of how your message is being conveyed. You're fully aware of your strengths and weaknesses and how you convey messages. And you know how to adjust your message so it resonates with a diverse audience. Toastmasters International classifies communication styles into 4 distinct categories. The first one is direct. That means you're goal-oriented and focused. The second one is initiating, which is more social and inspiring. The third one is supportive, and that's more patient and sympathetic. And lastly, analytical, which is deliberate and methodical. Most of us, we operate from a combination of these communication styles, but one is typically most dominant. So in my pursuit of my quest to be of the greatest speakers and communicators, I chose presentation mastery as my pathway in Toastmasters. And in that pathway, or their curriculum, it requires that I take an assessment to determine my dominant style. So not only did I determine my dominant communication style, I also learned about the other styles. And that's important because then you can adapt your message to resonate with those individuals of that style who communicate that way. So I'm going to share with you my dominant style, the strengths and weaknesses of this style, and how I'm going to use that information to achieve my goals. We all have a communication style whether we know it or not. And understanding it, learning it, will give us an edge in connecting with diverse audiences. Now I was really anticipating this assessment, and based on the results, I have a direct communication style. I thought it was going to be initiating, but it turned out it's direct. That means I'm driven, I'm focused, I'm result-oriented, and highly motivated. And those qualities, I'm sure we can agree, are pretty good qualities by themselves. However, because communication is a two-way process, I'm talking to you, you're receiving it based on your personality and your ways. Because it's a two-way process, I have to understand how the strengths and weaknesses of that style. The strengths of that style. The strength of that style is, of course, that I'm focused. That means that I have an idea of purpose for my presentation. And and everything about my presentation is structured to take you there. And it's driven. The impetus of my presentation is to motivate individuals to change their lives, to overcome obstacles. That's the strength. But Maya Angelou said that people will forget what you say, but they'll always remember how you make you feel. And that leads to the weakness of that style. The weakness of that style is that I could be so goal-oriented, so driven, that I miss the emotional details that engage the initiator and the supporter. That's important, because that barrier, if I don't overcome that barrier, I could lose up to 2/3 of the audience. Now, trying to overcome that barrier, that's the big challenge. The audience will think that I'm insincere, that I'm demanding, and I'm driving them, and I don't care. Now, I personally know some speakers like that, some professional ones, that in my mind, before taking this assessment, I had that thought that all they were out for was money, or trying to sell you something. So it's very important. I learned a lot from this project. I plan on adjusting my communication and my ways of communication by adding humor and color through storytelling. I intend to add some analytical, actual facts and details. But most importantly, I intend to learn how to share my own personal self, my personal experiences, and be more vulnerable when I'm delivering my messages. I think that'll go a longer way toward resonating with a broader audience. All in all, I thought this was a good project to work on. I learned what my dominant style was, other than what I thought, as opposed to what I thought it was. I learned the strengths and weaknesses of them, and I came up with some ideas on how to make some adjustments to better improve to get to the next level. I encourage each and every one of you to take the assessment. The impetus being that when you learn and understand your style, then you can have a greater impact. I want to close with a quote from an actor, David Shea. John Shea. He said that our impact on diverse groups hinges solely upon our ability to communicate properly. I believe that this project is a great stepping stone to helping me overcome that obstacle. Mr. Toastmaster.
Guys, I think that pizza is back there. If you want to get it. Pizza.